Before we get into all the X's and O's and everything that happened, what did you make of the overall emotion of this game? Coming in first, Marcus, how it played out during the game as well.
Yeah, listen, pressure, right? We talked about Lamar Jackson leading up into this playoff game,
Right.
and obviously his early exit. So you look at this game, a 10-0 lead. What's the scariest thing for the Ravens? To get behind. Like, all of those things start coming to your mind, and then you saw at some point Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, say, hey, I have Lamar Jackson, and used him the way you should use the best player on the field, and eventually it started to take hold.
I think the reality is neither of these teams like each other.
Exactly.
You know,
right?
like
that's that drama.
This goes back to last year. Baltimore's the 1 seed.
Yeah.
The MVP of the NFL. And then Tennessee goes in there and knocks them out. It's been brewing since then.
Yes.
And then they play in the middle of the season this year. And these teams are both cut from the same cloth. We want to physically beat you up. We want to play in your face, pound the rock, smash mouth football. We think we're better than you, and you think you're better than us. Let's find out. And at the end of the day, like Marcus said, Baltimore proved today that they can win ugly, that they can win kind of without the explosiveness of Lamar Jackson, and they got their kind of nose bloodied a little bit. And then at the end of the day, 8 was just absolutely spectacular with his feet.
Time now for T-Mobile post-game coverage. More from Nashville, Steve Levy and the crew, guys.
Well, let's make something clear, right? We're not rooting for teams. We do root for people sometimes, and you have to feel good for Lamar Jackson. And we started the show by saying it's a ridiculous sample size. It was only 2 games, but he had lost both, and he had heard it and tried to change the narrative, and he did just that with his arm and his legs today.
Yeah, he sure did. Look, he held up his end of the bargain for sure, especially from a playmaking perspective. In the beginning of the game, we said this, though. It was going to take a complementary type of football game. And what did that mean? That meant the defense was going to have to play its part. And boy, did they ever. They put in a performance that Wink Martindale will be very proud of.
I think, the pressure coming into this game for Lamar was probably greater than for any player in these playoffs. And he was going to be scrutinized. And win or lose, this game was going to be remembered for Lamar Jackson. If he lost the game, everybody's going to continue the narrative that he couldn't get it done. And now that he's won it, people will come back to this and they'll say that was the game where he finally got over the hump.
Right, and he didn't get off to a great start, right? It's 10-0 Tennessee. Lamar threw an interception on that second drive. But, Lewis, you talked about the defense for a second. And, Lamar was supposed to be one half of the story, and Derrick Henry was the other. And Henry just didn't show up. Not on paper, not on the field. And full marks to that Baltimore defense. But, so what if I told you Derrick Henry would rush for just 40 yards in the game after rushing for 2,000 this season, had the 5th best rushing season in history, has won consecutive rushing titles, and is held to 40 yards in the playoff game here.
I don't think you can put it all on Derrick Henry. It's not like he didn't show up. I think that this was a plan that was put in place by Wink Martindale, and it was a physical defensive line for Baltimore. They reestablished the line of scrimmage. There was nowhere for Derrick Henry to go. So I think you got to give that Baltimore defense more credit than taking it away from Derrick Henry.
Yeah, as unique of an athlete as he is, as unique as a runner as he is, in the history of the NFL, I don't think we've ever seen anybody that big, that fast, other than maybe Eric Dickerson, and who he said people used to compare him to. The game still comes down to the trenches. It comes down to the line of scrimmage, and we know that running backs are nothing without the line of scrimmage being captured on their behalf. And Wink Martindale wasn't having it, and his guys weren't having it tonight, and that's what you get. You shut down the greatest runner in the game today.
And Kansas City or Buffalo, they'll get these Baltimore Ravens come next weekend. So Lamar Jackson, the playoff win count is off and running. Got his first victory here today.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.